Hi, Armchair Artist here. Today we're going to paint these Bluetits in a willow tree, or chickadees as they call them in America. It was traced around the outlines of 4 birds, and you can see them here, and then I started to put the branches in position so they've got something to perch on. Once I'd done that, the next thing I started doing was painting the actual bit of tree and a bit of branch to see if I could get the colour right in my mind, and here I'm using a silvery grey colour. I didn't like the silvery grey, so I changed over to a browny colour. Each branch, the brown base colour was put in with a studio brush from the inking range, and then I used a lighter and a darker brown each side with a grunge brush to give it some sort of a texture and to make it look cylindrical. When you use the actual grunge brush, I have it on a reasonably small setting, but you'll see that while I'm using it, the sides of the branches become all fluffy and distorted, like they've got cotton wool on them. But it doesn't take a second. Once you've finished the branch and you're happy with it, then the next thing to do is just take the eraser and erase back to the edge of the branch. The marks you'll see on the branch are done with an ink bleed brush from the inking range, and that's set very small, and just lower the opacity a little bit. A little bit of white here and there gives you a good highlight, and it's amazing how all of a sudden it starts to look like a tree with very little effort, really. The secret is to keep one side of the branch light where the actual light is coming from, and keep the other side darker in shadow, and if you do that you'll soon have branches looking pretty good. Now here you can see I've just about finished the first bird and I'm on the second one. I used a different brush on these chickadees or Bluetits. I used on the bodywork, I used a brush from the painting range which is called an old brush. It won't work on its own straight away very well, but if you put a base colour in and then use the tones either side of that, you'll soon see that you get a painterly effect that for all intents and purposes starts to look like feathers. Here I am now on the third bird. I tried to choose 4 different birds in different poses so as it gave them the composition a little bit of variety, and you have to take your time doing the detail and try various brushes, mostly the inking brushes and the grunge brush on various opacity settings, and you just keep trying it and you see what works, and once you've got the bird looking something like, leave it at that. It'll do good enough. That's one of the great things about digital painting. If you make a mistake you can delete it, and if you don't like it you can paint over it. So here I am, I'm on to the last bird. You'll notice I've started right at the back of the bird because that's the bit that's furthest away, and if you start there, when you go put more and more layers on as you come forward, the feathers will overlap the feathers underneath, and that's the way it should look on a bird. Right, that's the bird's just about done. The next thing we've got to do is paint about 100 pussy willow buds. Actually, due to the beauty of digital painting, we don't have to paint 100 buds. I'm just going to paint one, and here you can see I'm taking my time over it. I'm getting the colours how I want them exactly, and this will be my master pussy willow bud. Now all I have to do is copy and paste that bud wherever I want to. Each time I paste it somewhere else, it becomes a new layer, so I can change the size, the opacity, and move these buds to exactly the right place where I want them. You can twist them and turn them so that they're right angle coming off each of the branches, and you can see those I've just put in are slightly smaller than the ones that are closer to. You'll notice as well I've put some of the buds in front of the birds, and I've put some in front of branches and some behind, just to give it a bit of depth. Now here I've changed the colour of the sky, graduated it from dark blue at the top to a lighter blue at the bottom, and you can see that the composition's nearly complete. However, it looks as if all the birds have landed on one branch, so I wanted to give it a little bit more depth. Because the branches were all on a separate layer, I was able to duplicate that, reduce the opacity, and then move it slightly and put it in the background, and this gave it a lot more depth and finished the picture quite nicely. So that's it. Thanks for watching. There'll be another video along soon. I hope you enjoyed it, so please take a second to subscribe, and then you won't miss any of my videos. Thanks a lot.